Welcome to My Edmonds News TV and our special report today on traffic and pedestrian safety in downtown Edmonds. In the studio with us today is Sergeant Mark Marsh, and he's going to talk about some of the initiatives that the police have right now that are aimed at keeping pedestrians and drivers safe. Sergeant Marsh, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, we know that police are out and about. We've seen them, motorcycle police as well as folks on foot who are looking out for violations and for ways to keep people safe. So talk a little bit about specifically what police are keeping an eye out for right now.
Well, right now we're keeping an eye out for vehicles that don't yield to pedestrians, pedestrians that cross, unsafely at intersections. There are rules that govern both of these, and there are some really helpful tips that we can give out to people that will help them enjoy their summer a little bit more and do so more safely.
Right, and I know you've been giving out a flyer that we're going to link here to this report so that people can take a closer look.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit more about some of the tips that you have for when a pedestrian is coming to an intersection and ready to cross, or if a driver is stopping at a stop sign. To keep the distraction to a minimum, what would you recommend on both sides of the equation?
Well, for the driver, obviously, you're not to be using your cell phone, while you're driving. And when you come to a stop sign, take the time, instead of just looking to see if there's any vehicular traffic, look to the side, both ways, break that tunnel that you have of just looking at the roadway. Look for the pedestrian and take your time and know that you have to yield to them when they're coming across the street. Especially in downtown Edmonds, roadways are rather narrow and there's many intersections that people cross at. For the pedestrian, when you get to an intersection, try to make eye contact with the driver. Make sure that they see you. Even give them a wave, jump up and down, whatever the case may be, but try to get their attention to make sure they see you. Yeah. And even as a pedestrian, take your headphones out so you can hear the traffic. Put down your phone. Don't talk on the phone or text while you're crossing the street, because you have an obligation to be aware just as much as a driver does.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And in case there's some confusion about what qualifies as an intersection crosswalk versus just mid-street crossing, mid-block crossing. General rules: if you're in a crosswalk, you have the right of way as a pedestrian.
Correct.
If you're at an intersection without a crosswalk, are you also given the right of way as a pedestrian?
Even at an uncontrolled intersection where there's no marked crosswalk, pedestrian does have the right of way. That's true downtown, it's true up along the highway, but the difference being is that a lot of drivers really are not going to be focused in on that. So when you come to those types of intersections, again, make your presence known to the motoring public and wait for them to slow down and stop in both directions. That's key. And downtown it's a little bit easier because the vast majority of our streets are one lane each way, so it's easier to get people's attention. So just keep that in mind. And you certainly don't want to cross mid-block. There's a lot of traffic that's parked along downtown, and when you cross mid-block, you're jaywalking, and that could get you a little visit by one of our motorcycle officers or one of our patrol officers who's out downtown during this type of emphasis. So, and when you cross mid-block, you're not very visible. You're coming out between parked cars. It's just not safe.
Right. And you did say that, right now this is an informational campaign and officers
Yes.
will be handing out flyers or just letting people know if they see something. But if it is, as you had mentioned, an egregious offense, you may get a ticket anyway.
There's a good chance of that,
Okay.
especially if you're running through a stop sign.
Right. Okay.
You'll get a visit.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for taking the time to explain that to us, and we appreciate it very much. And so everybody, please walk safe and drive safe. We want to make sure we all have a great time in downtown Edmonds without any accidents.